Okay, in this lecture, we will discuss the issue of insurgency in Northeast India. But before jumping to this particular specific topic, we will first have a generalized idea of what this internal security is. Right, so this is a topic in our syllabus for GS3. So about internal security, we will sort out the first thing, what should be our approach when it comes to preparing internal security issues. Then we will see what needs to be specifically avoided, because this is very crucial when it comes to internal security, because there are a lot of phenomena which occur. They are very complex also, and it may happen that you will end up in that complexity and jumble your preparation. So we will see what you should be specifically avoiding when it comes to internal security. And finally, we will see the issues. What are the specific issues which are threatening India's internal security, right? And in those issues, we will specifically study the insurgency in Northeast India. So let us come to internal security first. So internal security is it is the act of keeping peace within borders. So when it comes to internal security, we will be studying all those phenomena which are causing or which are having an impact on peace within our sovereign borders, right? So that is how we define internal security. So I'm right now just giving you a rough definition, as we are just getting a generalized idea regarding internal security. So that is about internal security. Now let us move on to the approach. So when it comes to internal security, we will see what you are actually supposed to be preparing for internal security. So first and foremost thing when it comes to internal security is identifying issues, or identifying all such phenomenons or incidences which are causing trouble to the peace within our borders. So this is the first and foremost thing you need to identify, right? So once you have identified issues, so let me give you an example, the very same example that we are studying Northeast insurgency. So whatever insurgency activity is happening in the Northeast India, that is an issue for our internal security. So we will have to identify all such issues, right? Now when you have identified that particular issue, you should be doing some details or knowing some details. So in details, you will know the origin of that issue, what are the demands which have led to those particular internal security issues, and what have been the major incidences, if there are any. So you are supposed to have a very generalized and brief idea of this particular part, right? Another thing you can add is the kind of people's participation, or what kind of people are involved. So we will see what exactly I mean with this particular part. So we will see what these people participation and other issues which are causing this internal security issue, right? So once you have done this, then you should move towards the response of government. So when it comes to the response of government will necessarily respond in two very specific ways, right? So first would be that of military response it can have, or say use of force. So in use of force, it might carry out certain special operations. It might constitute a certain specific force, such as Greyhound, and in case of operations, there could be like example of Operation Green Hunt. So we'll have to see what kind of response government is taking, or government is having, in terms of military or use of forces. Then another response which government will have, it would be of development, right? or running some schemes. So this could be one of the response by the government. Another aspect could be a political response in this. So we'll have to see what kind of responses government gives. And thirdly and lastly, which many people often forget, is the confidence building measure which is taken by government. Right. So roughly we have seen, when it comes to approach to internal security, we have to see what are the issues. Then we have to also know certain amount of detail regarding those particular issues, and after that we should be aware of the response of government from three dimensions, that is military, developmental direct dimension, and the confidence building measures. So this is how you are supposed to prepare internal security. One more topic you should be adding to this particular part. So we have seen response of government. After that, also add one more thing, that is the current situation, or in when it comes to describing current situation, you are specifically saying what have been the impact or how effective government's response has been, right? So that would define your current situation. So after current situation, you are supposed to know what issues still persist, right? And most importantly, what should be the way forward from here. So you should be having some ready suggestions, or say a list of things to do or which government should do. So you should be prepared with this way forward, right? So this is how you are supposed to prepare, or you are supposed to approach the issue of internal security. So I'll repeat once again that when it comes to internal security, first identify the issue, know the detail of the issue. After that, go in the response of the government in terms of military, development, and confidence building. Finally, try finding out what has been the impact of or effectiveness of government response in terms of describing current situation. And finally, know what issues still persist and give a way forward. So if you remember, if you take any questions, there was a question in 2018, I guess, regarding left-wing extremism, and in that particular question it specifically asked that what is the current situation of left-wing extremism, then how effective has been the response or measures taken by government, and it also, I suppose, asked what are the issues still persist. So roughly, no matter what, your question would always be having a broad dimension, right? And from this particular part, we enter the next aspect, that is what needs to be avoided while preparing internal security issues. So when it comes to internal security issues, just avoid those day-to-day dealings or details. So it may happen that there are certain incidences here and there regarding, like if you take Jammu and Kashmir insurgency, there are operations which are ongoing on a daily basis or even weekly basis, you can say, right? So you certainly cannot incorporate all those things in your notes, and there is absolutely no meaning in knowing all those details. So that is one part. Another part is, do not do PhD on any of the subject, right? So let us say there is currently there is issue of Naga Pact. So what people would do, people would go to the literature regarding Naga insurgency, and people would try achieving what all kind of events and all sort of details, like people would may go in the history or stories regarding the same. So please avoid all these things, because these are very time consuming, and trust me, nobody is going to ask you a question where you will have to write such a detailed answer where you have studied a lot of stories, right? So do avoid this. So after having seen what needs to be specifically avoided, we will see what are the various issues when it comes to internal security of India. Right. So there is Internal Security Department of Ministry of Home Affairs. And as per the assessment of Ministry of Home Affairs, Ministry of Home Affairs barely or roughly lists 4 internal security issues, and our approach in preparation also should be limited to that, because there is barely anything going to be asked beyond that particular part, right? And there are also not many other issues. So let us see. The first issue is of Jammu and Kashmir insurgency. Another is left-wing extremism. Third one is terrorism in hinterland. And fourth one is the insurgency in northeast India. So these are roughly 4 issues which have been enlisted by Ministry of Home Affairs. If you go through the annual report of Ministry of Home Affairs, you will find that it mentions that what is the current status regarding all these insurgency events. So maybe in any year, if you are reading that, you just look into that page, what has been major events in in that particular year. But that should be suffice just to know the current situation. Otherwise, even if you do not do it, it is going to be completely fine. So I guess I have already told you what should be the approach. Then we have seen what should be avoided, and we have also seen what are the issues pertinent to the internal security of India. So in this particular part, we will specifically in this today's lecture see what is the northeast insurgency in northeast India. We will try finding out the root cause of northeast insurgency, and we will see what have been the government's response, what is the current situation. So let us proceed. Okay, when it comes to insurgency in northeast India, the root cause of this particular problem lies in the history. With history, I mean it has to specifically do with the British Empire, or history during British Empire. So if you know history or modern Indian history, there is something we call the sentiment of nationalism. So this sentiment of nationalism or our national identity was built during our national movement, movement of national independence, say. Okay, so this is where we built our idea of a nation and our identity as Indians, right? But when it comes to northeast region, Britishers adopted a policy which isolated this region from mainland India. As a result of which, there never was a greater participation in the movement of national independence, and as a consequence of which, in northeast India, there was barely this particular sentiment of nationalism, and our identity was built, right? So this is very obvious, as they did not participate, or there was not such an influence of national movement of national independence, and as a result of which, the identity of northeast as India could not be built. So that is one part, or that is one reason, you can say, that is causing insurgency in northeast India. Right. Now, uh, let us see what is the next point. After independence, there was a state of Assam, and Assam also subsumed all other states such as say Arunachal Pradesh, Manipur, even Nagaland, and all other states were part of a larger state of Assam. In the aftermath, what happened that Assamese legislature introduced a law which said that the official language of the state of Assam should be Assamese, right? And if you know the cultural milieu of Northeast India, you will find two most important thing. There are n number of languages and equal number of tribes are there, right? There are various tribal groups, and each tribal group has its own language. So from this particular point, there emerged certain movements which demanded a separate state. So now you can see there are roughly two demands in any of the Northeast insurgency movement. The earlier demands were of separate state, and there are certain demands such as that of Greater Nagaland, and others is that of a secession from India, right? So this secessionist tendency comes from the history which was there in during British Empire, and the movement regarding separate states come from this issue of Assamese as an official language. So this is part 2. So now we will see what are the other reasons. So if you can see that Northeast in East India has a development deficit. So this is one of the most important issue which is being faced by Northeast India, that there is lack of development. Another important thing is there is lack of connectivity. After that, you can see Northeast India has one of the highest rate of urban unemployment. Right. So in certain areas of say Manipur, Tripura, that urban employment goes to as high as 25%. So that is one of the major issue in Northeast India. Another important point you must be noting, you must note that it surrounds border areas, right? So when it comes to being surrounded by border areas, the most definite consequence of which would be interference from or by external elements, right? Similarly, you can see that this region lies in the proximity with Golden Triangle. So what is Golden Triangle? So this is the region of where opium is grown in Southeast Asia, right? So and it has proximity to this Northeast India has proximity to Golden Triangle, and ultimately there is issue of drug trafficking. Fine. One more thing which results from being surrounded by border issues is that it provides den, or it provides like hideouts for insurgent groups. So what would happen? So like say there is Myanmar and here is India. So, and this particular border is roughly defined and poorly protected. So insurgent groups, what would they do? They would carry out their insurgency activity in India, and they would hide out in the state of Myanmar or Bangladesh, in that particular region. So that is one major issue which is exacerbating the problem of insurgency in Northeast India. So these have been roughly some issues which has led to and exacerbated the situation of insurgency. Another few social issues, you can see that there is a good literacy, and people are educated, and now couple this particular situation with the that of unemployment which I earlier mentioned. So naturally there would be a level of frustration, right? Another thing is there are certain health issues which prevail. Fine. And as we have seen that there is development deficit, government is not able to address all these issues. So Northeast region is one of the region which is highly affected with HIV. So you must notice this particular point. After that, you can also say that in Northeast India there is
Playing from laptop.
So there is a problem of immigration. So immigration occurred during the independence. So there were a lot of influx of migrants from Bangladesh. Similarly, there is influx of immigrants in 1971 during Bangladesh war. So also mention that before independence and after independence there was influx of migrants from rest of India also. So there is a large proportion of say Marwadi traders in Northeast India. Also people from Punjab have settled there. So this is the problem of immigration, and this problem of immigration is causing demographic change. So naturally there would be like agitation around this. If you see the Assam movement, or which led to Assam Accord, it was an outcome of this problem of immigration, right? So demographic change is also one thing which is contributing towards the issue of insurgency in Northeast India. So we roughly have seen almost of the issues which are pertaining for or which are resulting in the insurgency in Northeast India. Now we will see what are the various insurgency movements in Northeast India. So the first and foremost insurgency movement we will discuss is that of Naga insurgency. So what has been the demand in case of Naga insurgency? It is a secessionist movement. So they want a separate state of Greater Nagaland. Fine. So this is a secessionist movement, and insurgents want a separate state. This movement actually started in 1946. So right at the time of independence, and various there was constitution of Naga National Council under the FIZO, Naga National Council under Fizo. So that is it Fizo, and they demanded that we are not part of India and we should be given a separate state, and that is state of Greater Nagaland. So we are not going to be like in many details regarding this, but we'll just have a rough idea of what this insurgency, Naga insurgency movement is all about. And since then, it has reduced to an extent, but finally it still continues also in certain border areas of Nagaland and Manipur, right? So it started in 1946 as a secessionist armed movement. It was also armed movement, right? And they demanded a separate state of Greater Nagaland. So main important milestones or achievements when it comes to dealing with Naga insurgency is that of one, there is Shillong Accord. So what Shillong Accord took place in 1975, and in Shillong Accord it was said that these insurgent groups would give up arms and whatever their demands would be, that be put in a peaceful manner, right? So only one faction gave up arms. Another faction is that of led by Isaac Muiwa, which is also in news this in last few years. So this particular faction did not give up their arms, and this particular insurgency still continues, right? So this was all about the insurgency in Nagaland for the purpose of achieving independence from India and have a separate state of Greater Nagaland, right? Now another insurgency is in Assam. So there is like a lot of complexity when it comes to the insurgency movement in Assam. There are two type of roughly insurgency in Assam. That is separation from Assam. So if you see the movement of Bodoland or say Karbi Anglong, sorry, Karbi Anglong is not here, let us say Bodoland only for now, right? And another movement is against illegal immigrants, which came during 1947 and say 1971, right? So that is from where there is like Assam Accord and others come in picture. So this is about Assam insurgency. So Assam insurgency was at its peak during 1979 and 1985, and in 85 there was signing of Assam Accord. So we are not going in details of Assam Accord, and after the signing of Assam Accord, a lot of things changed in insurgency movement in Assam, and they were sort of being managed since then. But there are certain factions such as Alpha, they are still active when it comes to insurgent activities, right? So this was about Assam. So I have just given you a brief idea of what kind of insurgency movements are there. Now thirdly, the insurgency in Mizoram. So this insurgency in Mizoram, as I earlier told you that there was a law passed by Assam legislature just after independence, and it said that Assamese should be the official language of the state, and the movement for Mizoram comes out of that particular point. It was led by Lal Denga, and they demanded a separate state. A peace accord was signed in 1985, between Rajiv Gandhi government and Lal Denga and the Mizo National Front, which is called as led by Lal Denga. So since then, Mizoram has been the most peaceful state in Northeast India. Right. Now, there is another in Manipur, and in Manipur there are various tribes, and those tribal population, again the same situation happened, that is from the imposition of Assamese as official language, and all those tribes in Manipur, they demanded a separate state of Manipur. Right. So this was about the Manipur, and similarly same is the case for say Tripura and Arunachal Pradesh. So we have seen, or we have just got a general idea of what kind of insurgent movements which exist and what were the causes of it in the northeast region. So next we will see what has been the response of government. So first and foremost, we will see in terms of security initiatives. So what government tried, it tried to neutralize insurgent groups through various military operations. So this is point number one. Another thing which government did, you must mention, is that of introduction of AFSPA, that is Armed Forces Special Protection Act. So what AFSPA does, it just grants immunity to forces towards carrying out their duty, right? So this also has been a point of contention. A lot of criticism has been towards this AFSPA, and it was very controversial as well. So this is another measure which government took. Then one more thing is, you can mention that the role of paramilitary forces, it deployed a lot of paramilitary troops, and specifically Assam Rifles. So in all, these were the security initiatives or military initiatives taken by government of India to quell the insurgency in northeast region. Now we will see what are the developmental initiatives. So when it comes to developmental initiatives, we will roughly divide it into two parts. That is, one is political initiative, and another is what are other schemes and development was carried out in terms of infrastructure and others. So when it comes to political initiatives, the first and foremost thing is that of provision of inner line permit. This is to protect the interest of tribals. Right. So this was introduced during Britishers, but government of India continues ILP system even today, and ILP is in existence in the state of Mizoram, Nagaland, and Arunachal Pradesh. Right now, next important step which was taken by government is that of constitutional provisions. So there is the provision of fifth and sixth schedule. So let us not go into details of this, you know this from polity. One more important initiative which was taken by government is that of creation of autonomous districts within these states. Right. So this was one most important initiative, that was of creation of autonomous districts, because there were many small tribal groups which wanted their own autonomy and wanted to run their affairs as per their customs and traditions, and that is why government introduced this autonomous district system. Now another initiative is that of creation of separate ministry for development of Northeast region, or famously we call it as DONER. Right. So this was introduced. So these are all political initiatives for Northeast India. Another is, you can mention that of infrastructure. So after a prolonged neglect, we can say finally government is building a lot of infrastructure in Northeast region. There are certain roads are being built. Again, bridges are being installed so that connectivity in the region is improved. Also, there are efforts at taking electrification in the region, and arrangement of water and sanitation. Right. So all this infrastructure is continually now being built in the Northeast region. So we will see some specific scheme also which are being run for Northeast region in particular. So the first scheme is, say, there is non-lapsable central pool of resources. Or NLCPR. Another is Northeast Special Development Scheme. There is also recently a Northeast, Vision 2020 was published. So there are a lot of schemes. I'm not like going into all of the schemes right now. So if you find any other scheme, kindly add your own schemes in this particular thing. That would be beneficial for your notes, right? So after that, most importantly, what government is doing, government is introducing Northeast as a tourism hub. Also, organic farming is being promoted. So these initiatives are towards creating employment, as we have already seen that there is a lot of unemployment issue in Northeast urban areas particularly, and also increasing income, right? So these are two also most important issues and important initiatives which have been taken for the development of Northeast region. Now once we have seen what has been the government's military response and developmental response, we will now see what has been the confidence building measures. So in last few years, you must have seen that there is an effort of establishing communication at the higher level. So you might have seen that our prime minister is continually visiting various regions of northeast India. So that is one of the most important confidence building measure which is being brought in. Another is there have been various opportunities being created in rest of India for northeast people, right? So this is one more very important initiative. Another is that of development of sports facility in northeast region. And the initiatives for people to people contact. Right. So all these have been the confidence building measures towards northeast India. There can be, you can add your own measures, but I have like a limited list of it. If you find that there are recent initiatives, kindly add this to your list as well. So we till now have seen comprehensively what have been the what has been the issues and what have been the measures taken by the government. So now we will see what is the current situation. Okay. When it comes to current situation, we can definitely say that violence has receded in last few years. Another important thing we can mention is that abolition of APSPA. So if you say that APSPA had to be abolished in certain regions, that is only because that violence has receded, and APSPA is now limited to only a couple of states, that is of Tripura or some part of Tripura, Meghalaya. Sorry, it has been abolished from Tripura, Meghalaya, and it continues in some part of Manipur and Arunachal and Nagaland. So that is it, because APSPA is also being abolished. Right. Now, so once we have said that the violence has receded, and evidence of which is in abolition of APSPA, the incidence of violences, all this, when we say, you also have to mention some recent happenings. So you can mention that, but on contrary, there have been certain agitations related to CAA and NRC. So this particular thing has created a lot of anxiety in northeast India, because already we have seen that the reason for insurgency was that of immigration, right, from Bangladesh. So, and when it comes to CAA and NRC, it fairly addresses the same thing, and that is why, like, demographic character of northeast India has changed because of immigration only. And that is why there is a lot of anxiety towards CAA and NRC. So we have to mention that though the violence has receded in last few years, but it may resurface, or certain issues are still being faced because of the anxieties caused by CAA and NRC. So that is about the current situation in northeast India regarding the insurgency. One more point you need to mention is that many factions have now have they have like signed peace accords with the government. So you can also mention Naga Peace Accord, which was recently held. So in all, situation is gradually moving towards normalcy, right? So this is the current situation. But when we have, as we had seen that as we discuss current situation, we also need to give or also need to have a statement on how effective the government's response has been. So roughly we can say that the persistent effort by government in all directions has been fruitful, as we can see that insurgency has receded, violence has receded, and there is like a lot of economic activity which is happening now in Northeast India. Also, the avenues of tourism are being explored. So all this indicates one good thing, that if impact of government's response has been very prominent, right? So that is one part. Another is, you can write that about economic development. Again, third is infrastructure, right? So on and so forth. You can add your own points, but after having said this particular positive thing, you can you also have to say that how effective government's response. You need to be a little bit critical of government's response also, and that is particularly towards the APSPA, because APSPA has been very controversial. You need to mention that all these efforts, though effective, but certain issues still pertain when it comes to the implementation of APSPA and use of forces. Right. So this is about current situation. We have also made the statement on effectiveness of government's response towards Northeast insurgency. Now we will see the way forward. So when it comes to way forward, again, we will say that we will again make three compartments in terms of military response. Another is development, and third is the confidence building measures, right? So when it comes to military response, we can suggest that government should make sure that insurgency is dealt with firmly. Another is signing of peace accord wherever possible. Constant communication. With insurgents to give up arms. Right. So these would be the three most important aspects of further military response of government. In terms of development, you can say development of infrastructure, improvement of connectivity, social infrastructure you must mention, addressing political demands, so there are still certain states and still certain districts and communities which are demanding their own independent and autonomous arrangement. So government should be looking into that particular part as well. So we have to mention this in way forward. In terms of confidence building, again, a better communication line, better treatment in rest of India to Northeast people, because we have increasingly seen that they are not treated well, and there are certain racial tones to our treatment. So we have to make sure that this does not happen. Another thing in terms of confidence building measures, we can see that of bringing in better opportunities for Northeast people. So again, these lead lists are endless, but make sure that you are making this particular classification and having such an approach to your way forward also. So I have basically addressed almost all parts of the Northeast insurgency. If there are some issues which are still remaining, I will try addressing them also. You may want to point out that. I hope this was helpful for you, and we'll see next session on internal security, where we will discuss the issue of J and K, and after that we will also discuss left wing extremism. So thanks for now. Have a good day.